Doctors of Reddit, what was your "this person is obviously lying, faking" moment? M's here. Had a patient start seizing in front of the cops after they were pulled over for possible drunk driving. We get there and patient is still on and off seizing. We get them on the stretcher and in the back of the ambulance. Surprisingly, the cop joins us. As I take their arm, the shakes start up again. So I tell them, "Yo, if you want this medication, I need you to stop so I can start an IV real quick." Patient stops to let me start the line. And once I say I'm done, they start back up. Not mine but my mother's. An doc at the time. Scruffy guy. Mid-50s. Comes in looking for nonspecific help. Confused. Smelly. Dressed in ragged mismatched thrift store suit, clearly homeless and just looking for a bed. Keeps muttering something about quantum. Obviously a little off his rocker. Mom decides, might as well give him a workup and teach the residents. Turns out the guy's in near total renal failure. So they give him dialysis. Snaps to. Suddenly coherent. Suddenly sane. Suddenly talking about real actual quantum physics. Turns out he's a math professor. Some organ problem sent him into a mental tailspin on his way to a conference a month earlier. Got off train in wrong city. Been wandering the streets ever since. Missing and presumed dead. They're not always faking. Patient comes in saying she has terrible abdominal pain, 10 out of 10. I say okay. And start to examine her. She immediately starts screaming the moment I touch her belly. But look, I've seen patients in terrible pain. And nobody has ever yelled in pain with their eyes open. She wasn't even tensing or anything. It was a really sad case though. She has a history of coming in saying she was pregnant when the urine and blood test was clearly negative. In one case she even tried to steal a pregnant patient's urine. She got caught pretty fast. She was on psych follow-up. Not sure what the diagnosis was but my guess would have been Munchausen's. Anyway, we sent her home without pain meds. My second patient was a man with a chronic cough. Asked him, "Are you smoking?" And he says no. Examines him and there's a cigarette pack right in his breast pocket. Patient came in with seizures, non-specific weakness, lightheadedness, and numbness, tingling in her hands and feet. She gets admitted because of some electrolyte issues not related to the neurosymptoms. These were corrected later and symptoms persisted. Sure enough, on the second day she seizes. As soon as the diazepam is pushed before the flush is even in, she stops seizing. This happens again 3 hours later. The third time while she was seizing, we took her hand and tried to drop it on her face twice. Both times she moved her hand out of the way so it wouldn't smack herself in the face. We just stood there until she got tired of shaking. It took about 5 minutes. She left AMA a few hours later. An ex of mine told me a story about a dude that had a window wiper handle stuck up his butt because he had one laying in the shower. Slipped and fell onto it. It never occurred to her that it might have not been an accident. Had a PT fake a ruptured ectopic pregnancy to get narcotics. Says she was diagnosed with an ectopic at another hospital and given medication to end it. Came into our hospital in extreme abdominal pain. Rolling around. Yelling. Had vaginal bleeding. The whole 9 yards. Gave her a bunch of pain medication so we could get an ultrasound. Ultrasound showed nothing. Urine pregnancy test showed nothing. Beta HCG was 0. Turns out she was conveniently on her period, which made the whole thing very convincing. Got records from the other hospital. Patient had been there yesterday but was not pregnant for them. Nor was she diagnosed with an ectopic pregnancy. Definitely was a wow. She just made up this entire thing. We had a lovely conversation about all the results. She ended up screaming at me, threatening to sue me for all I'm worth, and stormed out. Jokes on her. I'm worth $200K of student loan debt. I brush and floss every day. Every patient at the dentist. What's the point? They know. My dentist can tell whether I'm flossing every day or just 4 days out of 7, or how regular my mouthwash usage is. Vet student here. Used to work as a technician near a major university as I went through undergrad before getting accepted into vet school. The amount of animals, mainly dogs, who would come in with college students on the weekends after ingesting drugs or alcohol the students left out is higher than I would have expected. But the owners won't tell us the animal got into a drug stash because they don't want to get in trouble, even though we know that's what happened because of the side effects the dog is experiencing. But we need the confirmation from the owner. Just tell us. Making up a story or saying something else happened isn't helping you or your pet, especially in life-threatening situations. In order to properly treat the drug toxicity, we need to know what it is. I promise you, we aren't interested in getting you in trouble, we're interested in saving your pet. Help us do so and be honest when you visit the doc or vet. My dog tripped and fell into a pile of drugs. Nurse not doctor. And not exactly faking it, but had an unconscious woman brought it by paramedics with blood alcohol level well over 0.2. She'd been found passed out on the floor by the parents of the toddlers she had been hired to watch. They were terribly worried about her, so the staff explained that she was unconscious because of her high blood alcohol level. They asked, completely seriously, what would cause that because she doesn't drink. I'm a therapist, but I do diagnosing if that counts. I had a woman in my office claiming she had multiple personalities. Did as a kinda of a sticky diagnosis to begin with, but that's she was claiming that she could talk to different personalities and then bring them out if she needed to. All of this seemed like it could potentially be more of a psychotic disorder or attention seeking. Then she introduced me to her girlfriend who also had multiple personalities, which they started naming, most of which were based on candy or Disney princesses. Notably the bad one was called the Beast. I actually asked her if she had seen the movie Split during out session. She said it was a coincidence. Not a doctor, but a hearing aid dispenser in private practice. Had a patient come in for a hearing test. Young guy in his mid-20s, which is already unusual. Main issue is that he's getting noise complaints about his music. No issues with his ears physically. So I do the hearing test, basically ends up with a profound hearing loss. Weird because that's basically sign language territory there. I walk behind him and ask him what his plans are for the evening, to which he responds appropriately. Definitely what we call a non-organic hearing loss. He was trying to get the results he wanted to justify being a of a neighbor. I had an employee tell me their spine couldn't stay straight and when they tried to sit up they'd flop to the left or right. Followed that up with telling me they found out that this was due to one of their lungs being deflated. You know, because your lungs hold your spine straight. A highlight of my career when he finally quit because he just wasn't about that cubicle life. I'm a dentist. We have a drug tracking program shared with any narcotic prescriber that tells me what patients have filled out what. I just need their name and DOB. I get drug seekers every now and then with real or fake pain claiming they haven't been taking anything. Quick search shows me the truth. Most people don't know I can do this. Liar. Liar. Pants on fire. I was getting the rundown on a patient once and the nurse said something about back pain and C4. Okay. He has some injury to his neck and it hurts. Nothing special. Then I talked to the guy and nope. He claimed someone had wired the explosive C4 into his back and 1. It hurt. 2. He was afraid it would explode. It don't know why he thought lying about explosives in his spine would be more believable than saying he was moving a couch or something. But whatever. Not a doctor but I am a patient who lied. Before my sobriety I did some doctor shopping. After that got hip I'd have to go around to urgent cares and stuff. I ended up needing something badly so went to my GP. I've been going to him for years. Like since I was 18. I told him I was sober and had tooth pain and back pain and other pains and had tried everything. Against what he was supposed to do he looked me dead in the eyes and said both of us know what you're saying right now is complete horseshit. Turns out my doctor was in AA. I ended up leaving after crying for 30 minutes. Got sober within the next 6 months. He goes to my home group and is still my doctor. Obligatory not a doctor post but when I was a child I remember my doctor asking me about my diet and I as an overweight unhealthy child responded with the names of vegetables and fruits that we both knew I didn't eat. So my mom is a doctor. She told me this story of a woman who came in and said she had been having seizures and as a result she couldn't move her arms. So my mom tested her arms and tried to push it and see if she would react. The woman kept resisting and trying to keep her arm in place since she couldn't move it. My mom had to control herself from laughing and told the woman that she needed to relax. She then left the room and discharged the patient. My aunt is a hypochondriac. She goes to doctors all the time claiming she can't walk, etc. My family tends to stay out of it, which makes her mad. Last I checked she was in a wheelchair with glasses claiming she had cancer. The thing is, she has been to dozens of doctors and they all claim she is healthy but she refuses to believe it. My poor cousins are getting into it now because of her. It absolutely disgusts me. 3-year-old having tonsil surgery. I run through my usual pre-op evaluation, history, and physical. Parents ensure that she hasn't had anything to eat or drink since the night before, get her back to the OR, drift her off to sleep, and when I go to place the breathing tube, she vomits basically solid, completely undigested scrambled eggs and aspirates. Surgery is cancelled. We take her to the ICU. Parents obviously fed her breakfast less right before they came in. Confront the parents and they basically say they thought we were just being too mean not letting her eat for 8 hours. There is a reason we ask you not to eat for a period of time before surgery. It is not because we just like being. Listen to us. Please.